Hello friends, I am Dr. Anjum Rashid. Welcome to my channel Pediatrics and Life Tips. Today I will talk about acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. Acute disseminated encephalomyelitis is also commonly known as ADEM. It is a polyfocal, typically monophasic event of the central nervous system with encephalopathy. It is an immune-mediated inflammatory demyelinating condition and is self-limited. It predominantly affects the white matter of the brain, spinal cord and the optic nerves. In a minority of cases, patients with ADEM experience one or two recurrences followed by remission. Now I will discuss the diagnostic criteria for the acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. Monophasic acute disseminated encephalomyelitis is defined as a first polyfocal clinical CNS event with presumed inflammatory cause. Encephalopathy that cannot be explained by fever is present. Third criteria for diagnosing monophasic ADEM is the MRI finding. MRI should typically show diffuse, poorly demarcated, large more than 1 to 2 cm lesions involving predominantly the cerebral white matter. T1 hypointense white matter lesions are rare. Deep gray matter lesions, for example thalamus or basal ganglia, can be present. And the fourth criteria for monophasic ADEM diagnosis is that no new symptoms, signs or MRI findings after 3 months of the incident ADEM should be present. Now the diagnostic criteria or the definition of recurrent or multiphasic ADEM. This is a new event of ADEM 3 months or more after the initial event that can be associated with new or re-emergence of prior clinical and MRI findings. Now, timing in relation to steroid is no longer pertinent in multiphasic ADEM. Acute disseminated encephalomyelitis can occur at any age, but the mean age is usually 5 to 8 years, and there is slight male predominance. Incidence in children is about 0.07 to 0.4 per 1 lakh per year. Now, ADEM is more common in winter months, that is October to March. Now, I will briefly discuss the etiology and pathogenesis of ADEM. Many patients experience a transient febrile illness in the month prior to ADEM onset. Preceding infection associated with ADEM include influenza, Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, varicella, enterovirus, measles, mumps, rubella, herpes simplex, and mycoplasma pneumoniae. Post-vaccination ADEM can occur following immunization for rabies, smallpox, measles, mumps, rubella, Japanese encephalitis B, pertussis, diphtheria, polio, tetanus, and influenza. Molecular mimicry induced by infectious exposure or vaccine trigger production of central nervous system autoantigens. Stimulated helper T cells sensitize to these autoantigens, and class switch immunoglobulin G mediate ADEM. A complex inflammatory cascade results from local action of cytokines and chemokines, as well as lymphokine-induced chemotaxis of other cellular mediators of inflammation like T cell, B cells, and phagocytes. Now I will discuss the clinical manifestation of ADEM. Typical case of ADEM arise 1 to 2 days to several weeks after a childhood infectious illness. There is usually a clearly defined phase of afebrile improvement lasting 2 to 21 days or more before the onset of ADEM. Initial symptoms include lethargy, fatigue, fever, headache, and vomiting. Abrupt onset encephalopathy is the hallmark of ADEM. This ranges from ongoing confusion to persistent irritability to coma. Most patients experience a combination of neurological symptoms that vary based on the localization of the inflammatory lesion. In addition to encephalopathy, other common neurological symptoms include pyramidal signs, ataxia, hemiparesis, cranial nerve palsy, visual loss due to optic neuritis, spinal cord involvement, impaired speech, and seizures. In most cases, clinical course is rapidly progressive and typically develops over hours to maximum deficit within days. Mean is about 4.5 days. However, a minority of cases show continued deterioration of function for periods as long as 4 weeks. Now, focal or generalized seizures and status epilepticus may occur around the onset of ADEM in a minority of cases. Meningismus may be present in 1/3 of cases. ADEM-associated optic neuritis is typically bilateral, although the onset in the second eye may follow onset in the first eye by days to months. A wide variety of cranial nerve palsy may occur in ADEM. Long track signs such as clonus, increased deep tendon reflexes, and upgoing plantars are present early in as many as 85% of the cases. Weakness may be hemiparetic, diparetic, or generalized and symmetric. Fairly symmetric leg weakness may occur in ADEM-related transverse myelitis along with the abnormalities of bowel and bladder function. Now, ataxia is appendicular more than the axial or gate, and nystagmus may also occur. Sensory changes may be underappreciated in young children. However, posterior column deficit and hemisensory changes are less common in children than adults. Severe presentation with respiratory failure due to severely impaired consciousness and brainstem involvement may occur rarely in ADEM. Now, children who have experienced typical ADEM are at risk for recurrence. About 10% of the children experience another ADEM attack, typically within the first 2 to 8 years after the initial attack. Many children experience full recovery after ADEM, but some are left with residual motor or cognitive deficit. Now I will discuss the diagnosis and workup of acute disseminated encephalomyelitis in children. In every suspected case of ADEM, neuroimaging and a lumbar puncture with CSF examination should be done. Head CT scan may be normal or show hypodense region. MRI brain with and without contrast show large multifocal and sometimes confluent or large edematous mass-like tumefactive T2 lesion with variable enhancement within the white and often gray matter of the cerebral hemisphere, cerebellum and brainstem. Deep gray matter structures, thalami, basal ganglia may be involved, although this is not specific for ADEM. MRI of the spinal cord may have abnormal T2 signal or enhancement with or without clinical signs of myelitis. MRI lesions of ADEM typically are of similar age, but their evolution may lag behind the clinical presentation. Now, serial MRI imaging 3 to 12 months following ADEM show improvement and often complete resolution of T2 abnormalities, although residual gliosis may remain. Severe involvement may progress to an acute hemorrhagic leukoencephalopathy, which is known as Hurst disease, with large lesion, edema, and mass effect. Now, CSF examination shows lymphocytic or monocytic pleocytosis. However, polymorphonucleated cell pleocytosis occur in severe cases, that is Hurst disease. CSF protein may be elevated. Up to 10% of the patient have oligoclonal bands in the CSF and elevated CSF immunoglobulin production. In ADEM, serum antibodies against myelin oligodendrocyte glioprotein or anti-N-methyl D-aspartate receptor antibodies may occasionally be present. In acute disseminated encephalomyelitis, electroencephalogram, that is EEG, may show generalized slowing consistent with encephalopathy or focal slowing due to polyregional demyelination of ADEM or epileptiform discharges. Now, visual evoked potential may prove helpful when optic neuritis is suspected but not apparent on clinical examination. Now I will discuss the treatment of acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. The treatment of choice is high-dose intravenous corticosteroids with or without intravenous immunoglobulin. Methylprednisolone 20 to 30 mg per kilogram per day for 5 days with a maximum dose of 1000 mg per day can be given. Now, an oral prednisone taper over 1 month may prevent relapse. Now, second treatment of choice is intravenous immunoglobulin. It can be given in a dose of 2 gram per kg over 2 to 5 days. Plasmapheresis can be used in severe and refractory cases. Typically, 5 to 7 exchanges are given every other day. Now, immunotherapy, which include rituximab or cyclophosphamide, can be given in refractory cases. In ADEM, all supportive care should be started early. This depends upon the clinical presentation. Now, the long-term follow-up is also important. Urodynamic studies, pain management, rehabilitation services, and neuropsychology should be highly considered. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel.